Welcome to Accounting High.
Check out the Cash Flow Show. We discuss topics like getting paid on time, profitability, and managing your bottom line, payroll best practices, the best apps to use, and cash flow forecasting tools. So if you're a small business owner, your help's right around the corner. Fret not. Tune in as Scott and Nikole help you reach your goals on the Cash Flow Show. The Cash Flow Show. Listen and learn. We'll show you how to pay yourself on what your business earns. With Nikole and OKR.
Welcome back, students. Class is in session. What's up next?
Hey, Scotty. Not much.
So we're back,
Sure.
and this is going to be part 2 of measuring your marketing dollars. And we're going deep and we're getting tactical. And today's acronym is
CAC.
CAC. It sounds like cat, similar to cat, your feline friends, but this is not cats. We're understanding CAC, and that stands for Customer Acquisition Cost.
That's right. Last week we talked about the lifetime value of a customer. How much is a customer worth? Now we're going to be talking about how much does it cost to acquire that customer.
And tune in next week for part 3, where we talk about understanding ROI, our return on this investment. So we're going deep here. Today's exploring this customer acquisition cost, client acquisition cost. Can you go a little bit deeper, or at least give our students here, our business owners, a definition or what this means?
Yeah, so it's actually pretty simple in concept. The lower the better, right? The lower the cost to acquire the customer, the better. And it's basically all of our sales and marketing costs for a period of time. So that could be by month, by quarter, by year, divided by the number of customers we acquired during that period.
Fairly simple, right?
Fairly simple.
Number of new customers and how much money was spent. Now, what do you consider money spent on marketing? Because last week's episode, we talked about some of the things, and you went really deep. Some of the cost of sales are considered too, and some other things. How do we determine that all of that cost?
Yeah. So I would, if you go to that marketing ROI calculator we talked about in the first episode, and we'll link it here, I've got a marketing cost tab. So you can go there and you can check out some of the examples of marketing expenses. But one would be, if you're working with a marketing agency, what are you paying them on a monthly basis? If you have marketing staff, like employees, we would want to consider their fully burdened costs, which would be their gross wages plus their payroll taxes plus their health insurance or other benefits they might be getting. If you have marketing contractors that you use, if you are spending money on ads, if you're doing any other marketing campaigns. So those would be like your hard costs, the more obvious ones. And then we have your sale, like if you have a sales team or biz dev team, I would include them too in the more obvious costs. And then the less obvious costs would be like if the owner does sales or marketing activities or business development activities. What we want to do is we want to take that time spent and include that as part of our cost. For example, if you have, let's say as the business owner, we're going to call our salary $100,000 a year. We want to figure out what that hourly cost is, right? And multiply that by estimated time spent in a period. So if we're looking at a monthly, let's say owner spends 50 hours a month, a little over 10 hours a week on sales calls, on doing biz dev meetings, networking meetings, on creating content on social media. So we're going to figure out what is the cost on an hourly basis, and we're going to include that in our total cost for that period.
Okay. And are you doing this outside of the books for your clients? Are you doing like putting a worksheet together to calculate all that? Or are you actually allocating some of these salaries so it shows up like that on the P&L?
Yeah, great question. I wouldn't worry about allocating salaries. That gets a little too complicated, but I do have this side worksheet, and I think it does need to be considered when we're trying to figure out what our true customer acquisition cost is. But
Okay. Yeah.
if like, I have another example of a client, they're an HR consulting company. And she came to me at one point because she's trying to figure out why her gross profit margins weren't in line. And what we figured out was a lot of the deliverable staff who were paid by the hour were spending time each month on these webinars. So they were preparing the content for the webinar, then they were hosting it. And there was all these, they're spending 5 to 10 hours a month on these webinars. And so it's like, oh, really? That's not cost of goods sold or direct cost. That's marketing spend. We're not going to go do a crazy allocation for those 10 hours on your profit and loss statement, but we do need to be aware of it and consider it.
Okay, cool. Now that we've determined how to calculate this, how is this used? Or how do we, I guess, utilize this in ways that we can help reduce it as well? How do we understand it a little bit more?
Yeah. So next episode, we'll talk about actually taking all of these pieces together between the LTV and the CAC, and then calculating our marketing ROI based on these numbers. But let's just first talk about how we can. So if lower is better, right? Lower cost is better. How can we actually reduce our cost of acquiring a customer?
So what are some ways to do that? I mean, obviously, as accountants, we know ways to save money. So you want to be smarter with the money that you're spending, right? And how do we do that? We can optimize our marketing strategies. What are some ways that you can start looking at that? What is that like? How do we optimize our marketing strategies?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of us have stories of spending money on the wrong things, not fully understanding marketing. I'm guilty as charged. But like, for example, I think anybody I've ever talked to, and I've never actually tried this myself, but spending money on Google Ads as a high ticket professional service provider is not probably going to give you a big ROI on your marketing. And I know this because I've talked to other people in the industry who have tried it, right? And so if you're using marketing strategies that aren't working, then we probably need to try something different. But I would also not try to reinvent the wheel. If you have peers in the industry that are doing really well, go ask them what strategies they're using. That's what I did. I would go to other people who are growing really, we've got people in our industry that are also doing like outbound emails and stuff like that, which I wasn't trying to grow as fast as them. So that wasn't like a realistic strategy for me. But it took me trying different things to ultimately land on, okay, I know for me, email marketing, organic social on LinkedIn, creating my own content, and then networking are like my major 3 channels. And so, I had a company I was working with that was doing SEO for a while, and I realized that wasn't a good strategy for me. But you might be spending some money. Hopefully you're not throwing away too much, but you might have to spend a little bit of money figuring out what things don't work until you land on the right things.
Yeah. And that's I would say fun in marketing is it's all a big experiment. So you do have to kind of understand, and there's a saying that goes like 5% of your marketing spend is actually giving you a return. 95% of it is just in the air. So, and we're getting real tactical to figure out what that 5% is. It might not be 5%. I think I don't know if I'm quoting it right, but it's true. Like you could be spending in a lot of different areas experimenting, but you have to pay attention to what's working and what's not working and start taking away what's not working. So one way to do that is to start asking and getting feedback on where people found you. That's what you need to start asking, and have maybe that as part of your type form or part of your intake form, or when you do see a new prospect or customer, ask them how they found you and leave it open-ended too. So this way you get the real answer. I mean, they could do a fill in the box. That's potentially a good idea, but leaving it open leaves open to all of the dark web methods. Maybe not dark web. I don't know what they really call it, but the hidden ways that people actually really do find you.
Or like understanding what they may have seen that triggered them to finally reach out, right? They may have been following you for a long time, and then there was one specific post or piece of contact that you did that spoke to their problem. So then you can say, oh, okay, I'm noticing a pattern here. People resonated with this piece of content I did. Let me do a deeper dive on that, or do another post on that same topic. And on that note too, like being able to see what posts perform better on social marketing, right? So like I do YouTube videos and I do LinkedIn posts, and I can start to test different content and say, ooh, people really like when I talk about what a controller does. That ends up converting my best type of clients that I'm looking for, that are looking for that controller role. And that's what Momentum does the best. So who's your ideal client profile and what's the main problem they come to you with, and then investing in content around that.
Oh, so I just got back from a conference, and a mutual friend of ours, Terrell Turner, he did a session and he talked about exactly that. And he went really detailed into how he was getting that feedback and the questions that he was asking, and then turned it around. And that is how he found his niche of working with attorneys, with lawyers. It was very scientific. It was very experimental, and he was testing different things and then gauging the feedback and then pivoting as he went. And it seemed like, hindsight, he had it all figured out, but all of it was just a series of experiments to get there.
Yeah. And on that note, I wouldn't spend a bunch of money like doing high production videos on a topic until you've like do cheap as you can do. Put out a bunch
Everybody
of
has
content.
a camera on their phone.
Yeah. Just put it out. And then when you're like, ooh, people like this, then you can make the high quality video and invest in that.
Yes. Yeah. So, and at first, it's not going to be very good. If you're not somebody who's used to getting in front of the camera or doing this, it's going to be uncomfortable. Well, guess what? Everybody's is uncomfortable, and nobody's is really good when they're getting started anyway. So
yeah,
get over yourself and get in front of the camera. That's for somebody that actually wants to put the effort into and has the time to do that. So we're talking about, people that, maybe owners or even employees that have the extra time to put into investing in different marketing strategies, because you could just throw money at it, but you usually don't see good results if you do that. It's not until you have a proven method and something that's working that you can actually spend money on replicating that again.
Yeah. Small, inexpensive tests until you figure out what works, and then invest more money there.
Yeah. And over and over again, organically is going to be the best way. And creating your own content typically is also the best way to get what resonates with you, who you're speaking to. Once you know what you're saying, creating that content, it does get easier once you understand who you're talking to. And it also is less uncomfortable the more you do it.
Yeah, and I think on that note, one thing that if you're a business owner and you've exited the sales process, what's going to end up happening is you're not going to be as aware of what the problems are that your customers are coming with. Like when I was out of the sales process for about 2 years when Ashley was here, and then when I got back into it and I'm starting to work with clients again, that's when I start seeing the patterns, I start seeing the problems, and then that helps me create good content. So if you're in that situation where you have somebody else doing sales, building in processes for either your team who's delivering services or the salespeople to give you feedback on what problems they're consistently seeing or solving for their customers, so that your marketing team or you, if you're the business owner, can take that and create content from it.
Great advice. I think I should take that advice. I have been away from my processes for a little too long. So understanding your customers means talking to them, or the people that do talk to them, speaking to them more and asking more questions, and then finding ways that you can help. Those are going to be your highest value service offerings at your business.
That can be simple questions. Like we have 15.5 we use to send out questions every week. And so I'll ask questions like, what problem did you help a client with this week? Or what's the most common questions that you get from clients? What are ones that you feel like you can't answer, or you have challenges answering, or have a hard time answering? And so that helps sometimes produce content ideas.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. What are some other things that we can do? Some other strategies that you list here? I see another good one: improving conversion rates.
Yeah. So like if for whatever reason customers or prospects are falling off at some point during our sales funnel, right? Whether that be like earlier in the process before they've even made it to a sales call, or we can't get them on a sales call, or we get them on a sales call and for some reason they're not converting, then we need to figure out why that is and where we're losing them. And so it could just be that we need to relook at our sales process, that our salespeople aren't effective, that we need more touch points along. Like once we get someone into our sales process, are we hitting them with one thing that helped me with my sales process is because it might be 30, 60 days before someone converts to a client. And in between, I'm sending out marketing content, or I'm connecting with them on LinkedIn and putting out content. And so where they may come in and not know me at all, I'm warming them up along the sales process so that it's helping with conversion. And so doing things like that during the sales process can help as well with your conversion rates.
I've also heard, the people who do invest in creating content, they have better conversion rates too, because the customers are coming to them knowing they already want to work with them. They know a lot about them too, because they've been paying attention for a while. So the conversion time might be, could have taken them a year or 2 years to finally reach out. But when they finally do, the conversion rate is much higher.
Yeah. Or it could be education too. If like you're selling something complex, like we're possibly looking at getting a pool, which I'm excited about. But you have so many questions that your customers probably like, we ask the same question that everybody else that wants to get a pool has. So having all of that, all those questions already answered for a customer on your website or through email or whatever, so that it just makes the buying less. We're trying to reduce risk when someone buys from us, or so when you're buying from somebody, you want the lowest risk for the highest reward. And so by educating prospects, you're reducing the perceived risk that they're making a bad buying decision.
Okay. And also just being informative and helping people and adding value is going to lead to a higher conversion rate too. If you're putting out that type of content, you're probably getting answers to your questions and then finding the company that you might want to work with through those answers. Is that right? Like the content that you're seeing out there is the sales companies?
Yeah, right. You're looking for a solution to a problem. And then if somebody's proven that they can solve that problem, then you're more willing to buy from them. One thing I will also add here as an example. So we had a client that we work with that sold Porsche parts, and it's an older business, right? I think they've been around 20 or 30 years. And so they'd historically always had salespeople, and the salespeople would answer the phone when people would call and help them make decision. They're consultative. And then the business owner in the last year discovered Google ads. And so he started pumping money into Google ads, which was generating more revenue. But the problem was he had Google ads and he had the expensive salespeople who are those Google ads are basically those like little mini salespeople out there selling online, right? So if we're transitioning from one strategy to another, we have to be careful that we're not spending, like while he was generating more revenue, his profitability wasn't increasing because he was just spending all that money on both of those areas. So he really should be saying, okay, maybe I need less salespeople now that I'm using this other strategy.
Yeah. Well, again, it's being able to pivot and make changes too. So whatever systems were working in the past aren't always going to work. And you'll find that over time, you're going to have to change your marketing strategies, like I have to do at my firm. What was working for us in the past, I don't think is working like it used to. So now it's time to start tweaking things and changing certain things. So this has been very informative. Is there anything else that we've left on the table? Any more meat on the bone when it comes to CAC?
One thing that I think we all do is we forget what worked at one point. Like I was on this session, what's the word I'm looking for? A workshop I went to, and she made the point, and I've heard this from a couple marketing people, that business owners will say, yeah, that used to work. I don't know why we stopped doing that. So going back to what was effective, and like, if it works, you have that lever to pull. So go back and do what works. And so, we talked about leveraging organic growth channels, like your own social media posting, right? Not paying necessarily for Instagram ads, but if you post on Instagram or you post on LinkedIn, depending on who your prospective customers are, getting referrals. So making sure, if you have somebody who in the past has used to send you referrals and they stopped, go figure out why they stopped sending you referrals and go reconnect with that person.
Yeah. So digging up relationships that you may have let as time goes by. It's hard to keep up with everybody. So starting to dig up some old referral networks too. That's great.
Yep, those are gold.
Cool. All right. Well, if you've been listening and you're interested in this stuff, Nikole created a dope calculator that you can check out and help you understand some more of this, go a little bit deeper. Our marketing ROI calculator is in the show notes. Check that out. It's in our resources. It's awesome that she put that together. So thanks, Nix.
Thanks, Scotty. We'll see you next time.
Peace out, homies.
Yeah. So you're drowning in cash flow issues. You run a business, but feel like it's running you. Customers won't pay, but you got bills due. It appears you won't have enough for payroll coming up soon. It seems like you running nowhere fast. You work hard, but never able to withdraw cash from the business. You get more customers, hire more employees, but still take home hardly anything. You feel like you're on a hamster wheel, frustrated cause the battle's always uphill. Even though you got a bookkeeper on your team, they send you reports, but you don't really know what they mean. Your CPA doesn't understand a thing about your business, at least that's how it seems. But if you want to get above water and grow, check out the Cash Flow Show. This is the Cash Flow Show, where we help the small business gain momentum and become profitable. This is the Cash Flow Show. Listen and learn. We'll show you how to pay yourself on what your business earns. Cash Flow Show. Cash Flow Show. We discuss topics like getting paid on time, profitability, and managing your bottom line, payroll best practices, the best apps to use, and cash flow forecasting tools. So if you're a small business owner, your help's right around the corner. Fret not. Tune in as Scott and Nikole help you reach your goals on the Cash Flow Show. The Cash Flow Show, where we help the small business gain momentum and become profitable. This is the Cash Flow Show. Listen and learn. We'll show you how to pay yourself on what your business earns. Cash Flow Show. Our advice will take you far. Cash Flow Show. Tune in with Nikole and OKR.